In the late 1980s, the world saw a series of dramatic revolutions as communism collapsed in the Soviet Union and in Eastern Europe. Václav Havel was a leader in one of those countries and led the Velvet Revolution in Czechoslovakia. He wrote a book entitled Living in the Truth, in which he articulates a strategy for dissidents to live the truth amidst the lies of the dominant culture, the comprehensive story and ideology of what he called communist consumerism. There were two sides to being a countercultural community. The first side was to create what he called a parallel culture, a different style of life that would demonstrate what the life of the truth and freedom looked like to their neighbors who were caught in the lie. It would be a different approach to art, education, politics, science, economics, all aspects of public life. They were not to be in a ghetto, but to live in the truth for the sake of their neighbors and for the common good of the culture. Parallel cultures. But the second side were gathering spaces where you'd come together with those who believe as you do. You speak the truth to one another and nurture your common identity so that you are not taken captive by the lies of the culture. You perform your plays, sing your songs, read your novels, recite your poetry, discuss your philosophy. And all of it to form a people empowered to live a new vision of truth and not be conformed to the lie of the communist consumer culture. I think this is a good picture of the inner and outer life of the church, or better, the church scattered and the church gathered. Newbigin speaks of this gathered and scattered life of the church. He says, "Is it not an illusion that constantly fogs our thinking about the church, that we think of it as something which exists manifestly on Sunday, is in a kind of state of suspended animation from Monday to Saturday? The truth, of course, is that the church exists in its prime reality from Monday to Saturday, in all its members, dispersed throughout the fields and homes and offices and factories, bearing the royal priesthood of Christ into every corner of his world. And on the Lord's day, it is withdrawn into itself to renew its being in the Lord himself." In our gathered life, or our gathering space, as Havel would have it, the living, resurrected Christ meets with his people by the Spirit to nourish the life of the new creation in them. He comes to them clothed in the Scriptures. He's present as they worship. He hears their prayers, and through the fellowship and mutual ministry of spiritual gifts, he ministers to them. And he comes to them in the waters of baptism and in the elements, the bread and the wine of the Lord's Supper. Christ, the living Lord, by the Spirit, is present to work in his people the new life of the resurrected life of the new creation. And as God works in us, as we are gathered together in community, it is for the purpose that he can then work through us as we are scattered in the world, being parallel cultures amidst the lies of our own culture. It is so that we might be the true humanity in our particular cultural context for the sake of the world. And this would certainly include the public life and our vocations. But we are not only to be the good news, we are also to speak the good news and invite others into that new humanity. And we are also to do the good news in deeds of justice and mercy, compassion, and reconciliation. Be the good news, speak the good news, and do the good news. But then finally, we are to send people called to this task to establish a witnessing community like that in places where there is none. We are called to be the true humanity that shows the rest of the world what it means to serve the true and the living God. And we must do it amidst a culture that serves other gods. But we often don't realize how our culture is religious and idolatrous. And so we will take this up in the next video.